Welcome as we continue our study of Colossians 1, picking up in verse 9. For this cause also, from the day in which we heard, we do not cease praying on your behalf and asking that you may be filled with the full knowledge of his will and all wisdom and spiritual understanding. So there's some words we've seen in here before. I would cover those, but we have a lot here, so I'm gonna skip over some of those and get to some of the new stuff. Um, so we're gonna jump right to filled, that you may be filled. So filled is Pleiru, and it simply means to make full or complete, to render full. Now, there's some interesting things about um, filling something that I think it's important for us to understand. So the analogy that I like to use is a pitcher of cherry Kool-Aid. So you start off with just a clear glass pitcher with its room temperature. Now, what's interesting to think about is we normally consider that pitcher to be empty, but it's actually full of air. So it's the temperature of the air. It doesn't really have any flavor. But if we take that glass pitcher, fill it full of 32 degrees cherry Kool-Aid, then the glass is going to turn burgundy cherry Kool-Aid color, and it's going to cool off to about 32 degrees. And actually, the Kool-Aid will coat that vessel and impart some taste onto it, at least until it's been cleaned off. So the vessel's always full. It just really depends on what you pour into it as to what it's filled with. So the first thing we see here, Paul's praying for us to be filled. So filled with what? That we will be filled with knowledge, full knowledge. And that's epigenosis. I think we have talked about that briefly before, but we'll cover it again because this is an important word. And so you have gnosis is the root here, which is just a basic word for knowledge, with epi as an intensifier, and that intensifier adds a little bit to it. So it makes it more precise. It makes it stronger. Word study goes further to say that it is not just more intense than gnosis, but it's more intense because it expresses a more thorough participation in the acquisition of that knowledge on the part of the learner. So you do a little work to acquire it. Study scripture, for example. Wisdom, Sophia, is it really is just translated wisdom. Now, sort of understanding what that really means, I guess, is it can be difficult. Simply put, it's a broad, full knowledge, intelligence, coupled with an ability to apply that knowledge expertly, not unlike some a craftsman might have for his craft. This particular instance is related to spiritual wisdom. And then the last word there is sunesis, which, understanding, which is sunesis, which is really a comprehension, comes from sunimi, which is comprehension. Sort of that running together, flowing together of knowledge. So the last part there we just mentioned a minute ago, which was it's related to the spirit, so it's spiritual. That is pneumaticos. We've seen that before, and that actually applies to both the wisdom and the understanding. Remember, pneuma is the breath of. It's the word for spirit. Pneumothorax, pneumatic, etc. And it means it's pertaining to God's character. So we have His Spirit in us, therefore it is pertaining to His Spirit or His character within us. So that's the source of the wisdom and the understanding. And you could say is the source of the full knowledge as well. And we'll get into that a little bit in the next verse.